Shall I keep I'll keep an eye on the waiting room, Leanne, if we could probably get started.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Bore da. Good to join you all this morning. I've got a couple of people in the room with me this morning. I've got Steve Livingston from R&D Tax Credit, and I've got Kerry Cohen from Business Wales and Big Ideas Wales. We're going to be covering quite a few aspects around R&D tax and the support that's available to you as well through Business Wales and associated arms of Business Wales, I suppose, isn't it? There's so much support, and it's in knowing who to contact and stuff. We're going to start this morning with Steve, who's a chartered accountant with over 20 years experience of advising fast growth, ambitious businesses on all aspects of tax and accounting, particularly focusing on innovation tax, incentives, including the R&D tax credit and patent box tax reliefs. So you've had a look at Steve's bio, but I think it's going to be a really interesting and very useful session this morning between both. I'll present Kerry after we've done Steve. So, right, I'm going to start sharing the screen and hand over to Steve. Sure. I'm sure you'll say a few words about yourself as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
This looks good. It's working.
Hey,
over to you, Alan.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Let's just click down to move on this, or see how this. Oh, the arrow's now fine. Okay. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, just in terms. Is it up and down? Yeah. So just introduction. There we are. So in terms of what we'll cover today, there's varying kind of knowledge around R&D tax credits, etc. So I'm happy for this to be a discussion as much as possible if we want to discuss certain aspects. But what I plan to cover, I thought might be of interest, is a brief introduction, benefits of the R&D tax credit relief, which is the UK tax incentive, which is going to be the focus of my session. Just to cover briefly what activities qualify for the R&D tax credit, what costs qualify, give you like an example of something, a typical project that might qualify for the relief, and where we are now in terms of relief. It's been around for 20 years, although in the past 2 years or so, it's been in a kind of state of flux. So we can talk about that and things to watch out for in terms of from a practical, hands-on perspective, having dealt with it, I say, for the past 20 odd years. So in terms of my introduction, so yeah, advise companies in particular areas around SES and EIS. So that's kind of companies getting funded effectively. There's a seed enterprise investment scheme. The enterprise investment scheme are two tax incentives to help companies, startups, and growing companies to get equity investment in a tax efficient way. So help companies with that. R&D tax credits is a big part of the work we do as well. What the focus is today, patent box is another relief some people aren't aware of. It kind of follows on from R&D tax credits, and that's relief where if a company has a patent, it can get a reduced rate of corporation tax, so very attractive. Stuff around employee share options, so making sure that you're kind of paying your team members in a way that they can benefit from the growth in the company, and there's not so much kind of paying bonuses in cash and NI and those sorts of things. So employee share options are very popular for fast growth companies. And in terms of that building for exit, really having worked with a lot of private equity backed companies and companies that have an investment, really helping them build financial systems and reporting, just looking after companies through that growth kind of journey. Based here at MSpark in Anglesey, and so part of the team here. I'm not running through here. Yeah, there is. So R&D tax credits, you may or may not be aware, they've been around for a long while, but in terms of people who may not be aware, it's a source of funding for companies that are looking to push the boundaries in their sector. It's for R&D projects in particular, and R&D projects are quite broad in how they are defined, and we can come on to that in a moment. But they have been a very, very valuable source of funding for companies, and certainly in my experience, a lot of startups have relied on it heavily for their cash flow in the early years when they're building their products, their services. With the relief being up to 33 pence in the pound for loss-making companies, it's been a huge source of support. One thing to be aware of is people say, well, I'm loss-making, it will apply to me as tax relief, but pay tax. It still applies, even if you're loss-making. So it's for profitable companies and loss-making companies to look at. Obviously helps with the cash flow. So if you've got investment and you're looking to make your cash flow go further, it's a great way of making sure that you can make the most of every pound you've got. Competitive advantage in the market. You'll find a lot of your competitors may be looking at it as well, making sure that you've obviously taken advantage of it if it applies to you, and also from kind of outside perspective, purchasers, etc., are very interested in R&D companies. Innovation obviously is just going to be huge. It is now, it will be going forward, and it's the idea it encourages innovation and growth. I think on this is it's a government tax incentive. It's there. They want companies who are doing the right things to get this support. So it is there very much as a support mechanism. And it's not a one-off. It could be if you're doing lots of projects or projects continue. It could be a year-on-year relief the companies claim. And as I say, with a lot of companies who are on that journey, and it's been a huge source of benefit to them. So, change them again. Okay, so in terms of what you're looking for, qualifying activities. So how it's defined is there's certain hurdles you have to get through. There's certain points you have to tick to be able to qualify for the relief. So first and foremost, you've got to be seeking, and kind of highlight the key words there. You've got to be seeking an advance in overall knowledge or capability in the field of science or technology. Now, for a lot of companies, technology we may want to looking at. So it's looking to say, have you got a project and you're at point A and you'll get to point B? You're looking to do something which, to the best of your knowledge, hasn't been done before, or you're doing it a radically different way. And within your field, if you were to achieve it, it would be recognised as some sort of extension of knowledge or capability, or some sort of appreciable improvement to what was done there before. So it's something where, as I say, you're looking to push the boundaries in your sector. Now, one thing to be aware of here, it can't just be for you as a company alone. So kind of pushing your own knowledge forward as a company isn't enough. It's got to be something that would apply to your whole field. So you have to define what field you're in. It could be the field of computer software engineering. It could be in engineering. It could be in food technology. It could be in any different sector. But you've got to be able to demonstrate that if you were to kind of, I would say, kind of almost hypothetically, if you were to go and stand in front of your peers in your kind of sector, and you should talk about the project you've done, would they nod and go, do you know what? That's interesting. That's novel. I didn't know that. They've clearly extended knowledge in some way. Obviously, you don't have to do that, but this is kind of that kind of point of proof you're looking for. And it's being able to, as I say, demonstrate. And HMRC at the moment are really keen on this. They get concerned where companies are maybe just pushing the boundaries within their own team, if you like. It's got to be something you can apply to the entire field. That's kind of hurdle number one. Are you seeking advance? Hurdle number two is, are you looking to overcome a scientific or technological uncertainty? And here what you're looking at really is, you expect, if you're a company and you're looking for to push the boundaries in your sector, you've got competent people in your team. So it could be you might have a lead person who's highly qualified. They might have a PhD. They may not have to. They could be highly experienced. They have a track record in the sector. And they are sat looking at this particular advance you're looking to achieve. And they're kind of scratching their head and thinking, I don't know how to do this. There's no clear way of doing this. It's either, you're not sure how it's technically feasible in the first place, or if you think it might be technically feasible, you're not sure how it can be applied in practice. So there might be a way you're not sure how components or systems will work together. There's got to be consistent uncertainty. There's things, it's all very well looking at a piece of paper, but if you actually try it and test it, then you're not sure it's going to work. Because on the flip side, it might be a really interesting advance you're looking at. But if a competent professional can go, well, do you know what? There are these bits of software or engineering or whatever it might be that exist. If you were to bolt these together in a systematic way, it would probably work. And that's just applying known knowledge that exists in the world at any one point in time. So that wouldn't be R&D. There's got to be that uncertainty. There's got to be that journey they're looking for. And that's what kind of HMRC are quite keen on, is just there should be a plan that you're working to, where you're testing, you're probably discarding, things are breaking, and that's kind of points towards R&D. Often companies say, well, we wanted to do this, and we did these steps, and it worked. You kind of go, is that is that really R&D then in that sense? Have you been on a development journey, and that's what they want to look at, or that's what they want to see. You've got to have a systematic plan you're working to. They want to have a project, they want to have a start and an end. So you can't, it's not kind of an open checkbook where you can keep it rolling. You've got to have, say, you have a project, you say, right, this is the end goal we're looking for. We'll know when it's finished when we have this prototype or that works, or we have a computer software system that is fairly bug-free that we can launch to the public. It's been through testing. That's what they want to see. So it could be months, it could be years, but there's got to be some sort of, say, beginning and end. And increasingly, HMRC here are looking at paperwork. They want to see milestones you've got, your Gantt charts, if you've got them, things you're looking at where you're working to a plan, and you've got a systematic process where you're achieving things, feedback loop you're working through. And finally, kind of fairly obviously, it's got to be related to what you're trying to do with your trade. There's got to be a side thing there just to make sure you have that in place. So those are sort of the broad qualifying activities. Then we go to the qualifying costs when it decides to move over to the next slide. So that's fine. In terms of costs, it's a big thing to be aware of. So you incur the costs on the project, and then in your financial year-end accounts and financial year-end company corporation tax return, I should stress it's a company-only tax relief. It doesn't apply to partnerships or traders. You've got to be a company. So when you do year-end corporation tax return, there's various forms to fill in on all the details. But basically, what you do is you look through, having established that you have a qualifying project or projects, you then look at the costs that are attributed to that project. The key ones you're looking at are staff costs, so that's your team involved in it, and you include there the employer's NIs and the employee pension contributions. So you're looking at your team, you're saying, right, okay, so I've got Ben, Jane, Fred involved in the team, and you say, right, of their entire salary, employers NI, pensions for the year, you then say, right, okay, what percentage of time do they spend on this project? Now, there's no specific record keeping requirements in terms of timesheets, etc. If you've got them, brilliant. If you haven't, don't panic. But then you have to apply management's your best estimate, and you can look at you can look at kind of, okay, you've got Gantt charts and plans, etc. You can look at those to try and work out an approximation of time they spent on it. As a kind of rule of thumb, HMC hate 100% because they say no one's 100% doing blue sky R&D work. You do admin sometimes, so they don't like that. I'd be worried really over 90%, and then then it can go right down through the scale there in terms of percentages you're looking at. But you should have a feel, be able to really. I always say to people, you've got to be able to sort of stand hand on heart, would never come to that in court, hand on heart and say, this is what I thought the time was. That's my best estimate of the time these guys were spent on it. That's one key aspect. For a lot of companies, that's a big cost that include. Another one is subcontracted costs. And EPWs means externally provided workers. Those are basically normally people who work with you from an agency. So they kind of become part of your team, even if they're not actually a formal employee. So those people you can include as well, percentage of their time. There's a separate kind of calculation that you have to apply as well onto that to sort of discount it even further, but it can be included in the pot. Consumables, transformable materials, things, again, that's more the case if you kind of, do some sort of maybe manufacturing company, or you're looking at some sort of prototype, you're making bits, you're buying bits, you're throwing things away, and you're trying to maybe build a prototype. They can be included. Software can also be included where you've got software licenses you're using in the actual process, and then you've got prototypes that you're building. You can't actually sell them because then you'd be remunerated for it. But if you kind of got prototypes, part of the project you're building, and then you're going to end up actually probably discarding, you can include those costs, where it's obviously part of the R&D project. And then there are certain indirect costs, which are important, like admin, things that are related to the actual project itself can be included. So there is a kind of computation to do in terms of working out what the actual claim figure is that you then include in your corporation tax return. And HMRC are pretty good. Normally they process them they try to process them in 28 days. It doesn't always happen, but they are quite quick. We'll come on to that again in a moment. An example I'm using from HMRC, I'm using HMRCs because at the moment, I've come to a second, HMRC are being quite funny at the moment about what isn't and isn't R&D for tax purposes. I'm kind of going to end on that. This is one of their own examples where they're talking about a chemical manufacturing business that's aiming to improve an engine oil additive product. they kind of oversimplify this here because they're saying this requires an advanced in science or technology. You'd have to establish that. And the way you'd establish that is by saying, what is the baseline? So you're looking to improve an engine oil additive product. They would expect you to say, right, okay, so what is the baseline level of knowledge in relation to engine oil additive products? What exists in the market at the moment? What processes are used to make those things, to make the additives? And what shortcomings exist in terms of the way you want to improve it? Why can't you use existing knowledge to improve the oil additive? That's what they want to know. What gaps in knowledge exist? What gaps in capability exist? And more so now, they'd like you to have kind of paperwork where you've done your research to identify, what the landscape is outside the project. So that's kind of really useful if you've got that. They're really keen on the standing baseline start point. From that, you can then measure the advance in science or technology. The scientific technological uncertainties here are how to include new combinations of chemicals and how these will interact to improve performance. So again, how to include new combinations of chemicals might be like a kind of a feasibility thing of, how would you actually get those combinations to work? And there's that kind of system uncertainty there about how they'll interact to improve the performance. So that would be based or measured against a competent professional not understanding quite how that would work, and they've also evidenced that. So the project begins to resolve the uncertainties and seek the advance. They do experiments, batch testing, and that's the kind of journey they want to see there, where you're kind of going through a development journey in terms of experimentation and testing. They say it ends when the improved product is ready to be scaled up. I've cut a bit off here. They actually go on in this. It says planning development stages following the identification results in the project itself going ahead, the qualifying project. They go on in this and actually say that there's problems around scaling up the manufacturing, and they said that wouldn't qualify, and that's because that's not, which makes sense, that's just a commercial thing that isn't necessarily related to a technical uncertainty or advance. It's got to keep, or if it's going to point back to that all the time in terms of the work you're doing. So that's kind of an example. I mean, it can be any, I say, it can apply to any sector, apart from social sciences at the moment. So you're looking at anything in the fields of science or technology, and the technology is the broader one. Technology can be pretty much anything. Where are we now? Okay, so at the moment, I say I haven't gone into numbers, etc., because we're in a kind of state of flux at the moment. We've kind of got 4 reliefs working at the moment. Some of them being phased out, some being phased in. So we've got the old relief, which is the best one, the SME relief, which can basically give you 33 pence in the pound back if you're also making company. So for every pound you spend on qualifying R&D, you're getting 33 pence back, and that's in a loss situation. That's being phased out from 1st of April 2024. We now have a new merged, it's called the RDEC, the RDEC stands for Research Development Expenditure Credit System. That's been phased in, so we have all SMEs, all companies basically will claim under that relief going forward. It's not as good as it was, but it's still pretty good. They have this thing now where intensive relief is to give added relief for SME intensive companies. And what that basically means is if the 40% requirement, 30% requirement, it goes beyond with this. I won't go into too much detail now because I could talk for hours. But what you're looking at there is the percentage of your total spend. So if you, in the example of the old SME relief, which applies this year, if 40% of your total costs, your operating costs relate to R&D, you get you're still the old relief, you get a better result, if you like, than under the RDEC scheme. And that's going down to 30% requirement, so less of a requirement, only 30% of your costs need to be qualifying costs post 1st of April 2024, the penalty periods beginning on or after 1st of April 2024, for this kind of SME intensive relief, which is a slightly improved relief for the RDEC. So I think it's worthwhile pausing here and say this relief has been around since 2020 for SMEs. It's been very popular. It took like 10 years to make companies aware of it because a lot of companies just thought, well, it doesn't apply to me. We've now unfortunately got to a point in the last 2 or 3 years, maybe before that, where everyone thought they were eligible. So loads of companies started claiming, and HMRC was swamped in claims. They were so swamped, they let certain claims through that shouldn't have got through, that blatantly weren't R&D, and they got a slap on the wrist from House of Lords, etc. And quite rightly, they had to curtail it and bring it back into line. Unfortunately, what's happened in that process is they've overshot the mark, and now all sorts of perfectly valid companies are getting caught in challenges, which is a real shame, but they are just scattergun and approach challenging claims. So I say proceed with caution with this, but don't be put off in the same vein. If you're a qualifying company, you should definitely explore it with someone like myself or whoever to make sure you've looked at it, but be careful, I think, in terms of moving forward to make sure you've got kind of a cast iron claim, because being in the required process is painful, quite frankly. And the team, once they do sink their teeth in, they seem to put a mandate to try and deny it once they start challenging it, which is a shame. That's where we are right now. So I put there, check out the latest useful guidance. There's a kind of short link there for it, and there's a QR code. That is their latest guidance they put out. It's guidance for compliance 3. It's actually pretty good. They've done a good job of trying to sort of lay the land out, what they want to look at, what they want to see. And you'll see in there massive emphasis on competent professionals. They want you and the company to be really comfortable that you've surveyed the landscape and you have the right people in the right seats who understand the industry and can stand by the claim. That's one thing. You also see quite an emphasis on documentation more so than we used to have in the past to make sure that you can substantiate your claim. And just some useful pointers in there as well, which is kind of the stuff we've always really worked with, but it's nice to see it coming up HMRC's mouth and getting on the same page there, which works quite well. I don't have the time, but probably pretty much done now. I think I might have got something about questions if anyone's got any questions. But that's probably me dealing for it, and through very high level. I think the purpose is really, I think, is awareness. Just be aware it's there. If you're doing any projects you think are pushing the boundaries in your sector, definitely look at our detached relief, because it's still a very valuable claim relief. And yeah, if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes, Louise.
Hi, thanks for that. That's really interesting. I just wondered, how far back can you claim? How many financial years back? So, for example, if having listened to that, I'm sort of thinking, actually, we've been doing this for the last 3 years. Is that possible to claim back retrospectively?
Yes, you can. You can look back 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Whatever your account is, say you've got a December year end.
Yeah.
Right now, you can go back to 31st December 2022, year end open. So that's a year, you go back to January 2022.
Yeah.
So you kind of have a rolling thing. You look at whatever account period end you've got, and you can roll back 2 years and submit your return.
Brilliant. And also, just looking at the qualifying costs,
Yes.
Can you include the expense of directors, paid via dividends in that?
Unfortunately not. Dividends don't qualify.
Okay.
It's got to be salary. That's one of the things to look at with some companies, very intensive R&D companies. You look at it and go, you're quite right to be normally paying yourself a small salary, the rest in dividends, which works for tax purposes.
Yeah.
For R&D, if you're heavily involved in the process, some companies will switch that around and go more into salaries, and so they can take much of the R&D.
Yeah.
That.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problems.
Anybody else? I think it's such an important topic, it's and so many people aren't aware of this kind of support and why it's there, and the opportunity really to look back, and especially looking back 2 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty good coming from HMRC.
It is. Yeah.
So I think it's something that, especially so many new businesses within the group, within the cohort, there's opportunities here because you're all developing new products and services that could be worth having a look into and checking whether you are eligible for this support.
And like I say, if anyone wants to have a chat, I'm happy to have a chat, and I can give you a view pretty quickly on whether it's something that's worth pursuing. But I'm here, so
yeah, we can share Steve's details if you're happy with that.
Yeah, that's what it comes up. But yeah, I'm here. But I can win or
yeah,
to
put it on. There we go. And these will be shared on the system anyway, so we can have those there. But contact me, contact Steve directly.
Yeah,
and we'll get you in touch.
Brilliant.
It's always good to know about these things.
It is, exactly, yeah, it is. It's awareness. Yeah, I thought-
No more questions then? Everybody okay? Some nodding, that's fine, that's fine. Everybody's alive then. Oh, thanks very much, Steve. That's really informative, and I picked up on a lot of stuff that I had no idea about, you know, and that the support was there, and it's yeah, it's good to know for, you know, you were talking about things like succession planning as well.
Yeah.
You know, building for exit. I've met so many companies over the last few weeks outside of this cohort that are looking at
Yeah.
succession planning and stuff, so
Yeah,
might be knocking on your door for people.
that's fine, absolutely. Yeah, it's getting the right things done in the right order, really, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing that now. Lizzie, I'll share the slides with you so that you can access them now, put them on this.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem at all. Shall we go straight on to Kerry, Kerry Cohen, or does anybody want 2 minutes, 5 minutes break?
No,
Jane.
I
Keep it going, guys, if you can.
That's fine. Let
With
me-
R&D tax credits, no, that's, you know, which is great. Thanks, Steve. Really informative, but my brain's not melting yet.
sort out the team. So this is where the problems start, you see, with me getting hold of technology. Hold on. Right, we need to exit this. See, I told you it was me and technology. System is a little bit slow. It is. It's terrible. No. It's still there. Right, I'm going to share this with you now. You will see the screen. It's just taking a little bit of time to come back. But as that's loading, just a quick introduction to Kerry. Kerry Cohen. She leads the community engagement team within the entrepreneurship and startup team within Business Wales. So this is an introduction to the Business Wales service as a whole. But the community engagement team deliver accessible and innovative engagement and outreach activities for quite a wide range of clients, really, from startups to those thinking about going into setting up on their own and entrepreneurial thinking. Along with, there's the general business support as well that's available. So I'll hand over to Kerry now, and she'll take you through what support is available to you and through Business Wales and how to access it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Gwenllian's done my presentation for
Oh,
me. Good morning, everyone. My name's Kerry Cohen, and as Gwenllian mentioned, I'm the community engagement team leader within entrepreneurship and startup part of Business Wales. A bit of background about myself. I have been working within this project now since 2013. However, the project, how it has evolved so much, and we have been identifying trends and gaps in the market with especially startup and entrepreneurship in Wales. So it's within that 11 years, it's changed so much, and it's also evolving as we speak. So we have the Entrepreneurship Partnership Cymru. So since June 2021, 2023, we have three consortium, MSPAC, Mentor Morn, and Business in Focus running this part of the Business Wales side of things. So our aims really is to develop a culture of entrepreneurship and business startup in Wales. So to increase the economy in Wales and to keep young people and businesses in Wales, but also bring people back to Wales as well. So it's inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs. So we do start from well, our part of the remit, we work with 16 upwards. However, Careers Wales do deliver within secondary schools. So we're trying to capture them at an early age to try and inspire them to perhaps think of becoming self-employed. Addressing underrepresentation within startups. So it's bringing down those barriers for those that think that business or self-employment is not attainable. So it's breaking down those barriers and demystifying myths of entrepreneurship. And then it's that business support then to create the sustainability of a new business. As I mentioned, our target audiences are young people under 25 years old, and they come within what we call Big Ideas Wales, which I'll explain a bit more about in a bit. So it's, again, raising the aspirations of entrepreneurship and supporting their journey. And I know journey can sound cliche, but it is kind of hand-holding them from that perhaps initial, wow, yes, I never thought about starting my business before, up until, well, actually, I have a business idea and I'd like to take it forward. So it's kind of capturing everyone everywhere. People of any age, and this, I do appreciate, 18 to 24 are classed as adults, but it's identifying people within certain age ranges that perhaps haven't thought of self-employment before, and this could be perhaps unemployed, this could be those that have been made redundant, those that just want a career change. So it's how we can support them and tailor that support. And again, going back to that underrepresented people groups within Wales that we want to support. So it's creating that inclusive service for everyone. And how we deliver that is, as I mentioned, the Business Wales family, including Big Ideas Wales, as well as we have the Young Persons Guarantee Startup Grant. Again, I'll mention that in a bit, and the Barriers to Startup Grant for those that are over 25 as well. I'm just waiting for the next slide. Yeah, so I'll just mention what we do then briefly. So we have what we call an engagement team. So we have 11 across Wales, and we are basically, if you like, and not kind of blowing our own trumpets, we are the face, that initial face of Business Wales and Big Ideas Wales. So we're there on the ground, if you like. So we're there as part of the initial pre-startup to try and inspire and engage young people and adults and underrepresented groups to think of self-employment and raise awareness of what Business Wales is and how we can support them in whichever part of that journey. So it's also looking at the entrepreneurial mindset. So however, we do come across all kinds of people, but some say, well, actually, I'm not interested in starting a business. But our message then is to say, well, what is that entrepreneurial mindset? What do you need to start a business? And can those skills be transferred to your employment, for example, or your college course, or how you work within your part-time job? So it's kind of looking at those skills as well. And it's providing that wraparound service, as I mentioned a couple of times, in kind of making them aware of their skills, their strengths as well, and to kind of work on those in kind of looking at confidence building, upskilling, and just working together with the partners that perhaps work with them anyway, and then work together to be able to provide this support, be it, inspirational, confidence building, or even up until working on business plans and ideas generations and so forth. So as I say, we've got a fantastic group of 11 pan Wales, and we deliver this service, be it face-to-face or digitally, because as we've all seen from COVID, we've had to kind of become very much digitalised. And I think this is what we have found with, you know, as I mentioned earlier, evolving the project, is how we can help in delivering that Pan Wales approach, be it digitally. Go to the next slide. And this is just a few examples now of how we deliver, be it digitally and in person. So, for example, workshops on what do you need to become an entrepreneur? So what do you need to start up a business? What skills do you need? Ideas generation, so looking at businesses and business ideas. What works, what doesn't work, how can you evolve that business, what do you need once you have that idea, and taking that forward. And also the entrepreneurship, enterprise life skills, as I mentioned earlier, those transferable skills. We also deliver community-based drop-in sessions. So this is basically for, we have done, for example, drop-in sessions in local libraries. So we work with the libraries, we work with local sports clubs, we work with local hubs, we work with the job centres, and we kind of want to identify places where we have that footfall, and perhaps make it a bit more accessible, if you like. So, you know, if someone's maybe doing their shopping in town and they see that we're there in the library, and they think, oh, actually, that's a bit more accessible for me to go, and a bit more less intimidating to have that conversation with someone from the team. And those have been working quite well, actually. And again, mentioning the developing skills such as confidence building, selling skills, selling yourself, and overcoming barriers. And I think that is one of those key things that we are working on, because we are kind of dealing with post-COVID, and we are dealing with a cohort of young people that perhaps, you know, they've started college, or they've started university, or they've gone into work, whilst we have been having this pandemic where perhaps their social skills or their confidence has had a knock, and is how we can then help them overcome this moving forward. And then, of course, we are very much client-led. We do offer a service, of course, but we're very much flexible, and we do tailor and be adaptable to our clients' and partners' needs. So this could be, for example, if you wanted something quite specific, that we have a group of, for example, refugees we've done with in the past, so Ukrainians and Syrians, and we know that they need that safe space because of language barriers and so forth. Of course, then we tap into that and offer that kind of sensitive and a bit more inclusive approach to that. Again, working really, really closely with our key stakeholders, and our key stakeholders can be anyone from, we work closely with all the universities in Wales, all the colleges, so the FE colleges, as well as other partners such as Princess Trust, Tramshed itself is one of our ecosystem partners. We work with training providers, we work with the job centre, and the list is not exhaustive, and we're always looking at working with different stakeholders. I'll just mention again the emphasis on the underrepresented group. Sorry, it's just come, there we go. We have identified that we want to, again, emphasise on that inclusive service. However, we do appreciate that some groups, and it's, it happens without even thinking, that perhaps they don't think that starting a business is attainable or for them, if you like. And this could be a difference of different reasons. This could be anything from, we've worked with the LGBTQIA community, and they think that, that they have their own issues, that they think, oh my God, yeah, maybe business is not, so it's not a safe space for them. This can be said for the BAME community. We also work with, or we are targeting working with the neurodiverse and those with disabilities. It's working with those that are unemployed, working, again, I mentioned the refugees. So tapping into our ecosystem, we're working closely with partners that are already working with them, so they feel that they have that safe space. So for us to take that service to them, and hopefully if we can do that, then it kind of breaks down that initial barrier. However, there will be some other barriers such as financial, language barriers, transportation, for example. So we do, and it's mentioned there, we do have the participation fund. So that is something that we can, it's a pot of money that we can provide that inclusive service. So that could be for translation, or it could be for BSL, or to pay for transportations and so forth. So that's a pot of money that kind of helps us to deliver and targeting these underrepresented groups that we want to work closely with. So some just examples of resources and tools that we do have for anyone really, if you like. So we have the digital platform, so that's being worked on as we speak. So hopefully that will be going live by the summer. So that's all the services that we have within Business Wales is available on that digital platform. So anything from fact sheets to webinars to access to advisory support and so forth. So that's again trying to incorporate that inclusive service. So one-to-many delivery. So this could be workshops, careers fairs, open days, open panels. So going into doing careers fairs, freshers fairs and so forth. The role model network, which I'll mention in a bit as well. So we also have Big Ideas on Tour. So that's a programme of events over a 6-week period. So it's kind of, that's what it says, it's basically going around Wales and delivering specific workshops and events. The BOSS modules, again, something that's incorporated into the digital platform. Be Your Own Boss resource guide. This is really useful. It's basically your business plan within a very accessible and simplified, if you like, but with all the information that you need in starting your business. And then you've got the online resources that's been that you can find on the website. Participation fund, as I mentioned, literacy and numeracy support, again, identifying barriers, and that can be a big barrier that we want to overcome. And then also the one-to-many will applicable, confidence building, ideas generation, overcoming barriers and so forth. So these are just an example of some that we have, but going back with the caveats that they can be tailored to the client's need as well. So this is just the kind of partners that we are working with, and these are again under 25s, over 25s, and the underrepresented groups as well. So we work with local authorities, we work, as I mentioned, with the colleges, universities, business hubs, the training providers, accountancy firms, innovation, DWP, the Prince's Trust. And again, these again are just a few examples. And these are the partners that we are working with, or we are identifying working with, in order to target the underrepresented group. So a couple there. So Age Cymru, Race Council Cymru, Platform, the Woolwich, Maximus, Glitter Cymru, just to name a few there. And I have mentioned the role model network. So the role model we have approximately by now just over 300 role models. And role models are basically local entrepreneurs that want to give something back to the next generation of entrepreneurship in Wales. So they run their own businesses, and how we utilise them is getting them in to share their own business story, if you like, and their own journey, if you like, to how they started their business. And then you get to hear a bit about, okay, I didn't do well in school, but look at me now. Or actually, I went to university and I had a 9-to-5 job, but after a while I thought, do you know what, I would like to try start a business. Or and they just share what their experiences of starting a business is, and this could be their own barriers, their own limitations, and how they've overcome that in the hope then that they are able to inspire the next generation, if you like. So they there's a couple of pictures there that they attend the fairs with us, and also with the boots camp at the end. And again, I mentioned the boots camp, and they come from a background of diverse sectors, demographics, as well as, you know, the BAME community, the LGBTQIA+. They've also got the person with disabilities. So what we are wanting is that true reflection of the groups that we are targeting, so that they can say, well, actually, we have a cohort here of role models that have had similar backgrounds to yourselves, and then you tend to resonate a bit more, don't you, if someone speaks in front of you that's kind of had that same experiences, if you like. So that's the role model network there. So I'll just briefly mention what the difference with Big Ideas Wales is. So it is part of the Business Wales service, but it is tailored for 16 to 25-year-olds. And whilst we do offer that service to everyone, there is a couple of things that are a bit different just because of the age range. So if they do have a business idea that they want to take a bit further, then we do have young people startup advisors, so they can have access to that one-to-one advice from a business advisor, mentoring from the role models, as well as specific webinars, workshops, and our flagship event, which is the Boots Camp. Again, I'll mention in a bit. So whilst we do offer the Business Wales service, we just have this kind of remit for 16 to 25, so it's a bit tailored to that age range. I mentioned the Boots Camp and the young person startup first. It is a grant of up to £2,000 for a young person under the age of 25 if they have a business idea and they want to take that further and they haven't started trading yet. That it is available for them. But as well as that £2,000, it is quite a beneficial package that they do have in addition to that. So they have that one-to-one advice from a business advisor. So they have a webinars to attend in order to help build their confidence and develop their business within that. And of course, developing a plan of action of what they need to start that business, as well as how they would utilise that £2,000. There is an eligibility criteria with the young person's grant, and it is available for those under 25 living in Wales or returning to Wales. So they have to be unemployed or economically inactive. It's not currently in education and training. However, should they be finishing their course in the next 3 months, then they would be eligible to have that grant. And there is that as well if they're working less than 16 hours a week or on a zero contract. So be it if they're in, college and they're finishing in 3 months, but they are working part-time, for example, or they're on a 0-hour contract, then of course they would be eligible, but they would have to do an expression of interest first beforehand with that. So that's available. So the Boots Camp, I wanted to mention briefly. So it is our flagship event. So it's an intense residential weekend, and it is. I'm going to Harris tomorrow, actually, for those that are 18 to 25 and have a business idea and they want to take it further. So it's, as I mentioned, a weekend of workshops, it's pitching events, it's guest speakers, it's working with advisors and experts on their business. It's also networking with people around their own age range that, are like-minded. So it's a really, really amazing event to be a part of, actually. And whilst we are just doing the one this weekend, we are looking to open it up to the north and mid as well. And as I sit here, I think we've got 42 that will be attending this weekend from across Wales, which will be really, really exciting, and I'm quite looking forward to that as well. So I thought I'd mention that's going on this weekend. So for example, so this is where I kind of cover the engagement, if you like. However, there is, so if, for example, if a person does have a business idea, be it, any age from 16 up until 100, if you like, then we would defer them then to a startup assessor. And what a startup assessor does is do that kind of diagnostic conversation with them to kind of see what that client needs, and then hopefully signposting them to the correct advisory support. So that advisory support could be a young person's advisor, it could be a lifestyle, or it could be a growth advisor that help support the team in onboarding them and giving them that support moving forward. So that's kind of the role of startup assessors. And then you hit the advisory team, and I'll just briefly mention what the advisory service provides, because obviously it's not my expertise, but this is kind of what we as Business Wales, we want to make sure that there is that continuation of that service. So whilst we don't give that advisory service, we're able to sell what the advisory service provides in order for the client to feel that they will have that support once they've had that conversation with us. So it's that, as I said, continuation. Again, digital and hybrid. So this is for the young people. So one-to-many workshops. So this could be anything on costing and pricing, how to sell yourself, tax and legal, marketing and branding for for example, one-to-one advisory meetings with the team. So this could be done, because again, we offer that pan Wales, this could be done or online, or it can be face-to-face, dependent on the client's need. The boots camp to business, and also tapping into what the our partners and the ecosystem can provide as well. So signposting then, should it be grants or specific support? So we're working quite closely with them, because we're all kind of working towards the same aim, and we are working with the same kind of people. And at the end of the day, whilst we do have, you know, our own targets and KPIs, it is important that the client is first and foremost the most important part of our delivery. So that's the young person's support. So not much difference to the ones that are over 25. So I've just briefly mentioned that earlier. So if we look at the over 25s, so it is providing awareness to consider entrepreneurship, as we mentioned, support to the different access, grants and funding opportunities, you know, that's available to them. Again, signposting them to the other resources. I think that's quite key throughout the whole delivery. Again, workshops for them, looking at similar topics, marketing, tax and so forth. And again, that one-to-one advisory meetings. And it's that kind of hand-holding, if you like, but with the caveats that the client has to kind of contribute as well and give that part of that. So they work on their business ideas and work on their business, but knowing that they have that support, and it's that holistic support there. I think that is all from me. Similar to what Steve says, the cancer approach, because there's so much, I could easily talk about it all day, and you know, I was just kind of in a nutshell there. But if there's any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask, or if you think of anything after today, please get in touch with Leanne. But my details are there as well. But thank you for listening anyway. But any questions, happy to answer. Thank you.
Stop the sharing. Yeah, I think just a couple of things maybe that kind of crossed my mind during your presentation there, Kerry. Obviously, there's a lot of support as well for people, because businesses on the cohort are from, there's a variety of different backgrounds and different stages that businesses are at as well. I think things like, you know, obviously you mentioned the advisory service, the access to growth advisors as well. I'm not really sure how many of you are actually working with Business Wales as we speak. Anybody getting any support as of Jamie?
Okay.
Yeah.
So because whilst we kind of cover the entrepreneurship started, there is that other part of Business Wales, as you mentioned. It's called what we call Lots 2, but that's for the growth side of things. So it's much more, and it's a massive beast of the Business Wales. So, for example, anyone that we think, oh no, actually it doesn't fall within our remit, we signpost or make sure that the appropriate support is available. So it's kind of where I sit is that pre-starter, and it's going back to that journey to kind of yourselves that are perhaps much further down the line in that startup and your business. So there is that growth support there as well. Yes.
And also there's a lot of workshops going on at the moment as well. I don't know if you've seen those advertised, but they are Business Wales workshops. They're available. They are fully funded, if I'm correct in saying.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this is a free service. So any workshops that you feel have a look at, is it Eventbrite? But I'm more than happy to share with Leanne if there's anything that you find that you would be interested in attending. There are, you know, obviously just registration and of course, and I think we normally have about 90 odd on each one, so they're very well attended.
Right.
So the need is there for them. So, for
Okay.
example, they do duplicate them on a monthly basis as well. So if one isn't suitable, then of course there is that availability for this.
They're just so wide ranging. We're delivering one on leadership next week here at MSPAC. We've got a half-day session there, but Swansea University will be running that same session as well.
Yes.
So there's opportunities there for anybody to join that.
And it's kind of working together, isn't it? It's complementing
Exactly.
what's each other. And I think as well, going back to the role, we also identify gaps within our network and what the client needs as well. So, for example, one area of expertise that we are kind of lacking for some reason is within the construction side of things. And I think we've spoken about this before. So, you know, for example, if we can tap into your kind of networks as well, or your expertise, I'd be more than happy to have that conversation because we're always looking at, you know, opening up that the role model network and expertise. So maybe that's something maybe I can, something that we can look into. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions or anything for Kerry? Anybody else?
Yeah, quick question. I've just put the events finder for Business Wales in the chat. So it's from there because I get the group GOGS one, Gwynthly, and the emails. So there's about at least 15 events that are going on. So there's lots of stuff going on. You know, I won't even go into AGP and what's happening with that and different things and what's available to us. I presume there's stuff going on around net zero and you know, for ESG as well that perhaps didn't come up today, which might be relevant if there's something to follow up with, possibly. Would that be?
We have the decarb advisors now, skills advisors, digital. So it's kind of they're identifying the needs of clients and kind of opening up. As I mentioned earlier, it's evolving so much at the moment. Okay,
perhaps there's a link, Gwynthly and or Lizzie, for South Wales and North Wales in terms of where that decarbonisation and net zero stuff's happening, because Welsh Government's obviously interested with lots of support.
Yeah, we'll get those details over as well.
Thanks. Still
staying off for that Pan Wales as well. It's just I think digitally, I think they're quite keen for it to be a Pan Wales. But we do identify that there will be local and regional needs as well, and that's something that we are working on as well, because you know current trends or needs in certain areas are a bit different to what. You know, not that we're comparing now north and south, but you've got more of the urban, but then you've got the agriculturals, and it's Welsh language as well, so something that we are identifying that.
And then the digital platform that's open to all businesses.
All businesses, yes, and it's going to be it's a work in progress. I think they underestimated the work that needed. Yes, so hopefully they've got a dedicated team on that. And June, July, they're hoping for it. Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us this morning and sharing all the information, and I hope it's been helpful to you all on screen, and that you know there's opportunities there obviously to access support from both the R&D tax side of stuff and also from the Business Wales programme as well, and that is so wide ranging, the support available through that programme. It's unbelievable sometimes when you do open the website. You know, it's sometimes quite difficult to know where to go, but gives you some kind of steer now of how to access support, but any problems, get in touch with Kelly
Definitely,
or
yeah.
a member of the team there.
Yeah.
I think we've covered everything for this morning, so thank you all very much. Lizzie, do you want me to hand over to you now for closing or any announcements or anything?
Yeah, I think in terms of announcements this week, we're fairly minimal. The only thing to flag really is that next week's session is the last session. So we will be extending it by an hour just to make sure that we kind of, like have everyone engaged and kind of make it really clear what next steps are and that type of thing. And I think Debbie will be doing a bit of an interactive session as well following Rodri's. So yeah, I'll be sending diary markers out for that next week, later for next week. But yeah, I think that's it really from this end. And thank you both for your talks this morning. They were really good.
No, yeah, no problem.
Thank you all very much. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see everyone.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You too.
Diolch. Ta.
Bye.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch. Ta.